What's up guys, my name's Dychronic here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about how to get the DFA and how to get it very fast and very effectively. Now there's a lot of strategies out there to tell you a whole bunch of different things, but in general, I feel like my strategy works a lot better than others. My strategy is as such. You first get a high personal best score on that particular Nightfall, and then you do a bunch of low scoring fast runs. Now this has been written on many different This Week at Bungie's where they say the personal best before getting into that Nightfall does matter when it comes to the drops. I think I've seen it at least twice in This Week at Bungie where they mention you need to first get a high personal best and then go for these low scoring runs. In the past, I've definitely seen evidence of this. In the 7th in Song, I've gotten 3 duty bounds in 6 Nightfalls. In Strange Terrain, I got 1 Braytech Osprey in 6 Nightfalls. In the Arms Dealer, I got 2 Tilt Fuses in 4 Nightfalls. In the previous Tree of Probabilities, I've gotten 2 DFAs in 4 Nightfalls. I did not play the Nightfall last week for the Trichromatico, but I'm sure I would have gotten some beautiful results there. Now again, this is not certain. I could just be getting incredibly lucky over and over and over again, but I don't believe that is so. I believe that my strategy is very effective, and I could almost guarantee you, if you do my strategy, you could probably get yourself a unique Nightfall reward in from 5 to 10 fast runs after that. Now I do say 5 to 10 because I'm trying to be very conservative about this, because some people do end up taking longer than other people. This video has been brought to you by the FCCS, which is the Flying Chicken Cutie Squad. If you guys want to see a heaping dose of cute chickens, make sure you check out these sponsors in the link in the description. There's actually no link in the description. The link in the description down below. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. First up in this video, we're going to be talking about how to get a very high score, and then after that, we're going to be talking about how to do the very fast, very easy runs. So to start up, let's talk about the Nightfall card. On the Nightfall card, we went with Void Singe because not a lot of enemies do Void, especially the boss doesn't do any Void as well as the fact that many of the Centurions also use Arc, which is probably going to be the most difficult to fight if you use Arc Burn. Next up, we use the standard complement of the disadvantages, including Match Game, Famine, and Extinguish. And then finally, for our handicap, we went with a 40 handicap, which meant we were 15 below the current Nightfall level. When you're doing your Nightfall, I highly recommend you go for as easy as you possibly can first and then work your way up. So I would first recommend you start at a 0, which means you're at a 25 handicap, which means you're at perfectly 360 if you were 385 before. And then add on 5 each time as you do them, and it should get a little bit harder, but not tons and tons harder. This is very important for learning the mission, figuring everything out, and not just be doing 17 runs on a 70 handicap, just trying to eke out as much points as you can and then just falling short. And to be completely honest, sometimes having a lower handicap is better because you get to the boss and you're able to kill the boss within under 15 minutes and you even get more score than you were on higher difficulties. But if you're looking to get a similar score to us, that is what we did. As far as the classes, we went with 1 Titan with the Hammer Strike as well as Synthos Seps, and we went with 2 Warlocks with Lunafaction and Nova Bomb. These classes obviously are set up so we can do the most damage to the bosses. As far as weapons go, honestly, we'll use whatever you're most comfortable with. I highly recommend you go with at least 1 short range weapon and 1 long range weapon. I went with the Nameless Midnight and the Hard Light so I could combat the match game shields. My teammates went with a lot of different things, including Better Devils and Mononon or Better Devils and Graviton, but I went with Hard Light so that I could help my teammates when we had certain shield types. Especially with the Infinite Forest, there's going to be a lot of different varying shield types. And then lastly, for a power weapon, I believe all 3 of us went with the Escalation Protocol Shotgun. You can definitely use different shotguns like Hawthorne. You might not be able to take the boss down in the 5-second time limit before he goes immune, and you can also have at least 1 person going with Tractor Cannon. If you're going to use a tractor cannon on one guy, I recommend you put it on the Titan. So this mission is a little difficult to describe a strategy for because a lot of it is the Infinite Force, which is completely random, which makes a huge variance when it comes to getting high scores. I very much think that Bungie should standardize these Nightfalls and give a specific Tree of Probabilities Infinite Force for everybody plays the exact same one every time they do the Nightfall on that particular week, because it is ridiculous how much disparagement there is in score. I've been through the Infinite Force and had 20,000 score at the end, and on the same modifier I've had 50,000 score. It is ridiculous. To be completely honest, it honestly depends on how many Hydras you find throughout the mission. Sometimes you can find a block with 2 Hydras, and then maybe 8 of his little Vex buddies, and then 4 Hobgoblins, and then sometimes you can find 2 Hobgoblins and 2 Minotaurs. They're just not equal whatsoever. In our particular run, we found one block with 2 hydras and another block with 1 hydra, so we definitely got really lucky with our spawns, and it was definitely very fortunate. To be completely honest, just handle them as you want to handle them. If you see enemies, make sure you stay safe, stay as a team, work together, and try to get through them as quickly as possible, but don't risk it for the biscuit. The most important thing in these Nightfalls is stay alive, not only to make it so you don't lose, but also because if you're dead, you can't do any damage. Eventually you reach the final platform, which is going to be where all the Cabal come out of the portal. Honestly, I recommend you just stay back behind cover, you fight off all the snipers first, and then you just pick off the Cabal one at a time. You should have no problem just taking them off slowly and thoroughly. Something I forgot to mention, you should pretty much use your super whenever you think it's necessary. If you see a lot of enemies in a certain area, throw a Nova Bomb. If you see a bunch of enemies or you want to survive, use your hammers. Just use it whenever you think is the most necessary so you can get through quicker, and honestly, it doesn't matter really where you particularly use them except for a few specific parts. Right after you get out of the Infinite Forest, there's going to be a specific part that I used my hammers that are not totally necessary, but definitely very, very useful. So right when I got out of the portal, I popped my hammers, and I definitely did a lot of damage, and I killed a lot of enemies for my teammates. I ended up dying because I was a little bit too risky for the biscuit, but it's definitely a great place to use your supers. As you go out through this area after this first part, there's going to be a lot of enemies that you can end up passing, so make sure you get all the enemies you can. For example, right after that first area outside the portal, there's going to be enemies up high on top of the large block. You should definitely send at least one person up there to clean up these enemies before they kill each other. You need to get up there so you can get the points so that the other enemies don't kill off the enemies you can get points off of. And as you go along, make sure you stop for every enemy along the way and kill them as much as you can. Eventually you arrive at this last little grand strip right in front of the boss. This is going to be the last little section. Again, take it quite slowly. There are snipers here. There's flamers that can bump you off the edge. For the most part, they have void shields, which when you're using void weapons for the most part, they shouldn't be much of a problem. And for the most part, again, just stay safe, stay in the back, and just shoot them from range, and you should have no problem taking them out. One big important thing you would take into account here is that you want to save your heavy ammo and your supers for the boss fight right when you start the boss fight. So as you're going through the area, make sure you keep this in mind and start saving your supers a little early so you have heavy ammo, at least one clip, probably a little bit more for your heavy weapon, and saving your supers so you can dump on the boss. Once you do get to the boss, clear out the area of the Cabal, and then you're going to start the boss and you're going to burst damage the boss. On this particular handicap, it is possible to kill the boss before he goes immune and jumps away. But then again, it is quite difficult, especially if one of your teammates died. In ours, one of our teammates did die, so we're not able to get the extra amount of damage from the shotgun, but it is definitely possible. So there's a particular order of operations that's the most effective for doing the most effective DPS. So the first thing you want to do is have your Titan go in and hit him with the hammer strike. So get your Titan sprinting, and pretty much as soon as the boss hits the ground, hit him with the hammer strike. Now this may seem a little bit early, but it is very important that you do this so that you can get your tractor cannon shot off before he goes and melees you. If you wait a little bit longer and you try to elongate the hammer strike, you're gonna get killed while trying to use your tractor cannon. So again, use your hammer strike, then use your tractor cannon. As soon as you can, after hitting that first shot with the tractor cannon, pop your super. That will allow you to survive the melee attack of the boss. As soon as that melee attack goes off, have your teammates move in and go in for the kill. It is very important that your Titan baits out this melee attack so everybody else can go around him without dying and without getting pushed back. Meanwhile, the whole time the Titan is doing this, your Warlocks want to set up their Lunafaction rifts right next to where the boss is going to be, back up for that melee attack, then move in back to those rifts as soon as the melee attack has gone off. The Hammer Titan will be throwing hammers pretty much the entire time, and the other two people will be able to use their escalation protocol the entire time and just unload on him. Now again, we didn't accomplish this in our particular run because one of our teammates died quite early, probably from the melee attack, but it is definitely possible. You can see how much health he has, and I didn't even use tractor cannons, so you can definitely kill this man before he runs away. After that, it's pretty much just a standard boss fight. Handle the boss fight the same way you always handle boss fights. Handle the ads first, stay alive first and foremost, the most important thing, and then move on to the boss after you do enough damage and kill enough of the ads around. Again, stay alive is number 1, kill off the ads is number 2, and then number 3, damage the boss after you've cleared everything else. As soon as some other mechanic activates, stop what you're doing with the boss, focus on the mechanic, and then move on. This goes for pretty much every boss fight in the game, whether it's a spinning Cyclops teleporting cover, whether it's a giant hobgoblin that's also moving its cover around. Focus on the mechanics and stay alive, most important at all. Eventually you reach the final area where the boss is going to be going full tilt on you. One of the biggest things I recommend here is this little kind of hole ditches on the left and right side. As soon as the boss jumps down into those little ditches, if you're in there, jump out of the ditch, he'll jump out of the ditch and then just jump back in. It's the weirdest thing for some reason. If you're in the ditch, he jumps in, you jump out, he jumps out, you jump back in, and then he walks over to the other side. It's kind of comical at this point why he does that, but he does that and it's kind of funny. For the most part, if you did a ton of damage on that very first phase, you should have no problem killing him very quickly. It pretty much as soon as he spawns, you can just run in there with a hammer strike, bait out the melee, and then your other boys can just move in for the kill. And that's pretty much it. As soon as you finish the strike, you'll get a high score for your card. You'll be able to see it on one of your emblems. If you have the emblem equipped, you'll get bonus tokens if you have reached the threshold. And then after that, you're going to want to set up your very fast, quick, low-scoring runs. Now in the low scoring runs, we set up our Nightfall card with Void Burn again. We're going to be setting up with 0 handicap, make it easy as possible. Heavyweight to do incredible amounts of damage with your heavy weapon. And then finally, I like using momentum. Momentum is not required, but it is very effective for keeping you alive as you're running through the whole thing, because that's pretty much what you're doing. You're just running past everything along the way. To be completely honest, you don't need a particular setup for the classes, but again, I would recommend the same setup as I described before, to get the most out of the killing the boss. So to do these high scoring runs, just run past everything. Only kill the guys you need to kill, which is going to be right in front of the portal. You're going to need to kill a couple people to get inside. Run past pretty much everything in the Infinite Forest until you get to the last block, then kill off the different Centurions there. Go through the portal. You can actually skip the place right after the portal, and you can just kind of jump across the gap and use your Sparrow. And then of course just run past everybody in that final little grand strip area. Avoid the flamers because they will bump you off the edge. And for the most part, you should be able to get the checkpoint if you just get far enough along this strip. And again, once you get to the boss, do the wombo combo that I described earlier, and you should be able to do the most DPS possible, and it should be just significantly easier. Honestly, you could probably just send in one person with Escalation Protocol Shotgun and Lunafaction, and he could probably solo the boss. Heavyweight is so incredibly powerful, it is ridiculous. You don't even need any help. Alternatively, there's a lot of other things you can probably use for DPS. Wardcliff Coil, if you have 3 Wardcliff Coils, Lunafaction Rift, it probably will do even more DPS, but since we're going with a Void Burn and we don't want to have any Arc Burn in this mission, it is a little bit less effective, but if you have Wardcliffs, you could probably go with Wardcliff. And that's pretty much it. That's the video. I hope you guys did enjoy. I apologize for being a little bit long. I wanted to be a little bit more specific on the things I was talking about and not go too fast, even though I probably wasn't specific enough and I went too fast. That's pretty much it. Make sure you subscribe for more Nightfall tutorials, tips, and high scoring runs and farms for unique weapons in the future, as well as other things like top 5 weapons and whatnot. My name's been Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.